Okay, so why my minute story, right? So my name is Cesar Quintero, and I'm originally from Venezuela in South America. At 23, I decided to move to Miami, get married, and start a business all at the same time, because that's what you do when you're 23, right? There's no risk at that age. So I started a food delivery company. We were first in the industry. This is 2003, pre-Facebook, pre-Uber Eats, pre-Google Maps, all of that. So I went door to door and convinced people that healthy meals delivered was very convenient. As the company grew and grew and grew, I saw myself with less and less time, and I was really starting to resent the company. I was answering the phone calls while I delivered the meals, and I had to go to the kitchen at 3 a.m. when somebody didn't show up, and it was just creating this sense of frustration in me that I couldn't really do even my work. My work would start at 5 p.m. So I found this operating system in 2012, and I started self-implementing it and doing that in my, it's not working?
Yeah, it's glitching out.
Shit, my time. All right.
You gotta start over.
No, I got 30 seconds. Okay, so I started implementing myself, but I realized that I couldn't do it by myself, so there was no one in Miami that could help me as a growth coach, so I called my friend Todd Smart from Chicago, flew him in, and he accomplished in 6 months what we weren't able to do in a year of me trying to implement this, because I was the loudest voice, I was always trying to facilitate, and nobody wanted to listen to me speak again. And after that, it was incredible. Within a year, we quadrupled in profit, and I was only working in the business 1 day a week, which really freed me up. I started 2 other companies, realized I didn't want to be in the food industry anymore, so I sold it, and I started doing this for other entrepreneurs that wanted to go through the same journey as I did. And now I love doing and now I love doing this for other companies and really helping people find their true passion and find what they want from their business.
Which is not 1 minute.
1 minute and 10. I had interruptions.
Why is it like 3 minutes to me? No way.
Dude, he interrupted me for 20 seconds. Anyway, the 1 minute story is at 1 minute, 1 minute 30. It's just a condensed way to create connection, right? So when we talk about the 1 minute story, the best theory is a 3-punch. People remember 3 punches, right? There's 3 punches to the story, right? And there's ways that you need to go into a climax and then go down. What I like to say is there has to be 3 elements to the story. There has to be a human element, there has to be a superhuman element, and then there has to be a purpose element. This doesn't matter if it's 30 seconds, 1 minute, or a minute and a half, right? So in my story, which part was a human story? What is my objective in the human story? What's the objective of getting that human into the story? Relating? Right? What part of that was in mine?
23 years old.
23 years old.
Married, starting a business.
That wasn't really the human, because that's kind of background-ish, right? I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a risk taker. That's part of like who I am. That's how I start. But where is my human? That I couldn't do it all. I had to answer the phones, I had to deliver the meals, I had to walk in at 3 a.m. when people didn't show up, right? And the more the business grew, the less and less time I had for myself, right? That's one of my, so that's human. Anybody here relate to that? A little bit? Do you think you're?
Almost every entrepreneur can relate to this
Yeah.
at some place in their growth journey.
Yeah. And then I went to superhuman, right? Then I said, well, there was something that happened. So I was in your place, but then something happened. And what happened? What helped me?
Discovered it.
Hard Todd, which is not true. So the other thing, I did call Todd a lot of times, right? I called Todd a lot of times.
Or I would see Cesar posting on Facebook.
Yeah, and he's like, what are you doing?
Be like, you're fucking that up. You can't have 23 people in a focus tab. You know,
So-
what are you doing?
So at the beginning, so the reason I added that to my story, and remember, it doesn't have to be 100% accurate, right?
Don't let the truth get in the way of his story.
Don't let the truth get in the way of a true story. The reason I added that to my story was to say, I'm a process engineer. I didn't say it, but I usually say, I'm a process engineer. I can do this by myself. I don't need anybody else, but my employees didn't listen to me. So I had an external voice. I'm just selling the power of having a facilitator in the room. So I added that there just to make sure. And that's been with time. But since I love Todd and Todd's really my mentor, I'm like, yeah, Todd came in, and in 6 months he was able to do what I couldn't do in a year and a half. right? So it's just a little tight.
Don't more of you repeat shit like that using my, you know.
Tie guys everywhere.
Yeah, I know.
But then what do I do? Then I go to superhuman. What did I say in the superhuman phase? That as an entrepreneur, you're like, shit, I worked 1 day a week. People love that shit. And I'm like, oh, I grew frustrated in my business. I built a team. We quadrupled in profit. And at the same time, I worked only 1 day, which is true. Everybody in Neo kept asking me, he's like, what do you do? Like, you're in every event. You're doing everything. You're volunteering. I'm like, I have nothing else to do. Like, my business runs itself, right? And then that piece is your client is creating relatability with your human, but then they're saying, oh, you went through the process I want to go through, right? So depending on their pain, I might use time, I might use profit, I might use, and we successfully successioned out, and I was in the owner box for 5 years before I sold my business, right? So it depends on what the pain is. I can really click on the superhuman because I want them to picture themselves in my story. Does that make sense?
Perfectly.
And then lastly, you go to purpose. And the important thing is that they need to smell that this is not you just going out for a sale, right? They need to hear you and say, and I used to say this all the time. I don't say it as much anymore, but I don't do this for money. I do this because I love what I do, right? This is a passion. Because before I had 2 other businesses and the whole thing, and they knew that. So I'm like, this is not something I do for money. This is something I do because I love it, right? And it's like dismissing the sale, but it's more like I really want to impact different people doing that things, right? So is this useful, helpful in a way? Because a lot of you have the punch. What you don't want the 1 minute story to be is a curriculum building story. Well, I worked in P&G, and then I moved there, and I was in Office Depot, and then they moved to innovation, and then I did my own thing. That's not the 1 minute story.
That's your resume.
It's not your resume. Your resume, they don't care at all. You just want to build trust, right?
And it's not about talking about these tools.
It's not about the tools. No, 1 minute story is about you. It's how you position yourself. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Is everybody clear on your 1 minute story?
No, not everybody in the room has one.
Well, Todd, maybe I didn't pay attention last time we got together. This is a completely different format than what we did before.
Yep. Yep. I think better.
Yeah, different. And better from the standpoint of it allows the other person to connect with different points of someone's life with their own so they can see themselves potentially going on the same journey.
Yeah. And I'm bringing this because we've said everything over, and I'm bringing my own perspective into it. And this is how I connect with people, especially because I'm in peer groups and I'm in places where people relate to my story. So that makes it easier for me to sell because they can see themselves in my story. And the reality is my first 10 clients is because they saw me go through the journey. They're like, holy shit, we want what you just did. I'm like, I'll show you. Does that make sense? So this is just an extra element on how you can connect better.
So we're going to take a little bit of time for them
Yeah,
to craft
so what I wanted to do
theirs
is I wanted
and
to
then
take
share.
5 minutes
To craft.
for you to kind of go through your 3 punches. What are the 3 punches that can make you human, superhuman, and purpose?
I'm just going to use your story.
All right, 5 minutes, go. Thank you.
And then, of course, you're going to be role-playing and sharing with your neighbor on this, so don't skip out on the 5 minutes of prep.
Yes, 5 minutes.
Actually do the work right now. You need me to reset Trent somewhere else?
All right. I love it. Good thinking. Any brave one want to come to the front? For Gold Star? You got it. Let's go, dude.
So I was looking at the slide that I have in my 90-minute deck, because that was something that I play off of that.
Yeah.
But I use that to kind of, you ready? You need the 1 minute?
You go? All right.
You got it right there?
Go.
All right. So, I'm Judo Linker, and I've been an entrepreneur for the last 30 years, entrepreneur business owner, owning a market research firm. And over that time, we obviously had the ups and downs that businesses have. But I always felt like we were struggling to be in alignment and work on our execution. And about 5 years ago in 2019, I found an operating system and a coach that could help us really get our hands around our execution and communication. We hired him, implemented the system. My whole team changed. I brought in, I upgraded my whole management team, such that last year I was able to exit my business successfully. And I decided that my real purpose was to help other business owners and other entrepreneurs, to help them get what they want from their businesses, help them grow their businesses, whatever it might be in their own lives, whether it's to grow, whether it's to exit, whether it's to do whatever. And so my real passion and mission now is to help them do that. And so I do that by doing growth coaching for leadership teams. I'm a Bloom Growth Coach.
Does he get a Gold Star?
Yeah.
Great job. You made it.
All right.
You made it. Quick comment. Any feedback? Any feedback? So what worked well? What worked well?
Oh, lots of things are great about your thing. The one thing that I would say is this phrase, helping. I got what I wanted out of my business, and now I help other entrepreneurs get what they want out of their business. Everybody wants something. Don't assume you know that they want, but I think you could say about your own experience. And then once I started using a growth OS, I got everything I wanted out of my firm, and now I help other entrepreneurs get what they want out of their business.
Yeah. What else worked? What worked well?
Really calm.
Really calm.
Yep.
I've said it a lot. I mean, this is a variation on the theme, but I say
Yeah.
it a lot, right?
Yeah.
I say the story a lot, and I can tell you that reps help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just get the reps.
What's something that could be improved?
Is it higher?
Is what?
Hey, I've got clothes on to here. Y'all froze me out earlier.
My only comment, what I would notch it up. I
Yeah.
thought it was amazing. I think on the pain side, on the human side, you were very generic on. We all go through this in business, the highs and lows of business. It's not a real pain. Like I think the more specific we are, it's going in at 3 a.m.
Right.
It's answering the phones, delivering the meals. I couldn't even start my own work till 5 p.m. in the afternoon, right?
The one that I find helps with people
Yeah.
is time or money.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, I had written that down actually, such that I didn't really have a life, right? That I
There
was
you
so busy in the business, not on the business.
Perfect.
I use that one all the time. I use the money one. I know what it feels like to be not sleeping because I'm worried about payroll.
But I know what it feels like loses a power. I couldn't sleep
I couldn't sleep.
because I couldn't make the payroll.
Got it. Yes. Got it.
Right? You want to make sure that they can see themselves in your shoes. Don't.
It's visceral. It
Yeah.
needs to be visceral. Also, if there's any part of a child growing up that you missed because the business had to come in front,
I'm pretty good on that one, but I could make up a story.
you could make up a
No,
story.
and the truth is, it all depends on the pain of your customer.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can
whatever their
customize your
pain is.
pain.
Yeah.
All I want you to take from today is if you get the human, superhuman purpose, it really is a nice blend into bum, bum, bum.
Now that assumes that you're able to have some conversation, where you're able to ask them, what's going on in your business, right? So you
Yeah.
want to.
And at 90 minutes, this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. By then I know.
By then you know,
I should have
yeah.
heard from them before the 90 minute.
Yeah.
I find that the thing that is most effective, and this was a Isaiah thing, is to have them introduce you, especially if you've known them for a long time. They'll say, I'll say, I'm going to go see this guy, Buster. Hey, Buster, why don't you tell the team how we know one another? Oh, Mark Lewis told me about Jude, and he's had a business, and blah, whatever it might be. Or the guy Barrett. I've known Jude for 10 years.
But you still introduce yourself with a 1 minute.
I have not. I mean, I do to a degree, but I've let them tell their team.
So then you're delegating the narrative for your
Which
sales.
is probably not good.
Yeah.
Because
Because then the other side of this, for instance, when that happened to me once, that one of the visionaries started introducing me, 3 people on the room were at the end, the whole thing is like, are you really going to be able to put him in check because you're friends?
Yeah. Plus, the visionary is also oftentimes a bullshitter and grandioses things too.
And the real reason for the 90-minute,
They know what that guy or girl is about, right?
Yeah.
So they already categorize what they're saying. That's a good point.
and the real reason for the 90-minute is for the team to get buy-in. It's not for you to sell it to Visionary, because Visionary already wants to do this. They've already brought 10 things they wanted to implement into their teams.
You're selling the
Good
team,
point.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, you're not always up in front of a room like this. I thought you could have projected better.
Yeah.
Especially at the beginning, it felt like you were going to eat your words and,
Yeah.
and looking at your toes and stuff like that. But it's usually one-on-one.
Yeah, it's
so
one-on-one
that
in
may not
the
be
group.
very
It's
relevant.
Be one-on-one, or, I mean, what I think thank you for that feedback.
Yeah.
Normally, I'm not looking at my notes.
Yeah. It's more
I
natural.
get it.
But normally, if it's I mean, the ones that I've had knives with have been typically 3 to 5 people.
Yeah.
All right, I love it. One more. Let's go. Yeah. All right, let's do it.
Yeah, right there.
3, 2, 1. Here's the timer. Oh, you want to hear?
Yeah, so my name's Trent Clark, and I've coached the best in the world. Before I was 33 years old, I coached in 3 World Series, and I lost one business during that time, and so I bought a franchise called 1-800-GOT-JUNK. And in 2005, I decided I wanted to leave the baseball world, and I sold my franchise, and I had a banner year in baseball, just missing my 4th World Series in the American League Championship with the Angels. Fast forward 4.5 years later, I feel like the biggest failure in the world. I'm in an unemployment line in 2009 getting food stamps to support my 4 children and my pregnant wife. And I thought, man, something's got to change. I've been on this game for a year, and I got to do something different. And I met somebody who pointed me toward a system that could help me build out the entrepreneurial venture I was going after, and I did that. And I made $2 million over the next year in the maritime space, where I had some experience, and then I laid that over software space in the government, and then I laid it over training and development, and I thought, man, this is my purpose. This is where I need to get back. I've always been a coach to all these people. So in the last 3 years, I've taken 3 companies that were stagnant growth and took them over $50 million in a sale and exit of their business, doubling their EBITDA when they were flat within 3 years. So loving this experience that I've had as a coach and bringing it to other people has just given me all the value and purpose in my life.
All right.
All right.
What worked?
Totally connected on the human level with that, like what it must feel like to stay in that unemployment line. Even if I've never been there, I can imagine what that must feel like as a father and a husband, and that sense of responsibility. So that was really got me.
What else worked? Projected well. Around the story, we're talking about story content.
The opening was super strong with the coaching, and then there were a couple times when you were talking about the entrepreneurial journey. I was having a hard time following. I was trying to understand what it was you were saying, but it was like I wasn't really able to contextualize what it was you were saying.
That layover stuff.
Yeah,
I
1
was
minute feels really short.
I'm like, I don't know what a
Yeah,
layover
first
is.
time.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Clean that up.
It went out, and then you went to purpose, and then you went back to entrepreneurial life a little bit. So it was a little that. But what else? Any other comments or feedback?
Again, at the end where you have these 3 stories of helping entrepreneurs, and you can just say helping them get what they wanted out of their business is clearly one of the most meaningful experiences I've had, and it just evolved into a purpose for me to be doing this.
Yes.
Just
I love
helping
it.
them get what they want.
Great job, man. Star earned. All right, you ready to practice, everyone?
Ready to-
We're gonna
and
split
then-
into pairs.
Michelle, you want to come up with a niche, and we'll give you guys both the instructions, since you guys missed the instruction part of it. And
Okay.
there's an even number in the room. If we include Cohagen, everybody, this is pairs, not threesomes.
Yeah, so we're doing pairs.
So Cohagen's going to step in. Michelle and Anish, come over here to my table.
So we're gonna do pairs, and what we're gonna do is you're gonna practice your 1 minute. One person's gonna practice their 1 minute, and then the other person's gonna be giving feedback. What worked, what didn't work, what I would change, and then you flip. All right, so it's gonna be 5 minutes each. 5 minutes each. 5 minutes, you give 5 minutes to give your story. Yeah, feature.
I mean, and I realized at that time, science life in a veterinary, and I now worse as possible. I was using new ideas and take my company every day for food infections, cause a lot of habits. And then about 2 years ago, my wife has a veterinary practice. She's got about 70 employees, and she's always harder when it's one-on-one sometimes.
Alright. Coming back, coming back.
Doesn't get on.
Alright. We're back. Alright, so just a little tidbit of the Caesar magic of my story, and that's what I try to do. But we call it a 1 minute story, not because it has to be 1 minute, like it could be 1 minute 15, 1 minute 30, you don't want it to be a 5 minute story, because then it's too much about you, right? And you don't want to be the resume, so you don't want to get into too much context. You want to give credibility, connect, human, superhuman, purpose. Done. All right, does that make sense? There was a clarification on, I didn't say don't have the owner introduce you. The owner can always introduce you, but just don't, you have to give your own story too, because if not, you're delegating the narrative to just what the owner said, right?
You can't just rely on that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. All right. Any feedback? Any ahas? Anything that came from this? Useful? Not useful?
Very useful.
Anything that came up? Any learning that came up through this?
I want to say it's really important for the humble human part to be very visceral rather than vague and overly general.
Yes.
I say quite specifically in 10 startups over the last 35 years, most of them failure. I don't say it to be artificially humble or something. They're quite literally failures, including going through a full business and personal bankruptcy in the late 90s where I went to flat zero. Just like be visceral, be real, tell the story. Every one of you has some kind of failure story, I say with love. So,
any ahas, learnings, any tidbits from this? Yes.
we want to tell the real story, man. You don't have to make it sound worse than it is. I know a lot of your stories.
All right.
One thing that I think I took from this is the story is part of it. They're feeling when they're done that you actually feel genuine care about them. That's one thing that Aaron did really well. Is just still working on the story, right? But at the end of the day, you can tell you're sincere. About coming to help.
Yeah, and don't.
Yes.
The joke of me moving and getting married, that's my opening on every story I have. But I always give a little breeze for people to laugh because it's kind of a little funny. So it's like, it's rehearsed, but it seems natural, right? I wasn't faking it. So try to, don't make it too rehearsed for sure, yeah.
Yeah, and you're saying, look how dumb I was.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, of course. To 23,
What else?
Of course you should do all these things at the same time.
Said that after I said the payroll and not sleeping, he said, I didn't want anybody else to ever have to go through that. That was switching.
I love it, switching it.
Mission driven, right?
Yeah.
Because I say, I'm all about helping people get what they want, but his whole thing was you could relate by saying, I never want anybody to go through that again.
Yeah, I solved it using the system, and now I'm helping others do the same.
Exactly.
I solved
Yeah.
it using the system,
And now I'm helping others
do the same.
I gotta write that down, hang on.
Love it.
Well, the solve and the system have a nice ring to it.
A little violin.
I solved it with a system.
All right. Have
And it
pocket
was sweet.
stories. If there's anything
And
you take
sugar.
from this, a lot of forum trainers in the room, but stories are the way people relate. Stories are the way people connect. Take pocket stories. Depending on the pain that I'm in a barbecue and I'm not talking to somebody and they're talking to me about this pain, it's like, oh my gosh, I know exactly what you're going through. And I got my pocket story and I just plug it in. Right? So have pocket stories for different pains and different ways that you can solve that pain through the journey.
Yeah, with that, when, like you said, oh, my marriage was struggling, like, tell me about when you walked in,
Yeah.
the look he gave you. So both of us, we get more specific, and it becomes real.
Yes, if it's too generic, then people won't connect. They won't get at that tactical level with you, right?
They trust you more when you share about your shortcomings and how human you are. You're building trust through that authenticity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be afraid of looking bad.
All right, good.
Wonderful.
All right, let's move to the next. Okay.